Chapter 101. Olivia sensed something. She raised her head to look at the window above her. The sweater on Connor made him look like a little polar bear. He rested his palms and cheek against the window, overflowing with cuteness. The good soundproofing blocked his voice from seeping through the window. But she could tell that he was saying hi to her. His adorable action appeased the displeasure in her as she smiled and waved at him. Ethan happened to witness the scene at that moment. It felt like he had returned to the time he first met her. That morning, the ponytail girl was waving at him with a smile as dazzling as the sun. 10 years had passed, yet he could remember that smile vividly. He pulled his senses back. Olivia would not come to Collington Cove alone. There could only be one reason for this. She came here for the Fordham residence. Ethan hung up the call. Brent reported the slaughterhouse incident to Ethan. Ethan shoved the ashtray onto the ground, thinking, Marina is getting nosier day by day. Get the car ready, he instructed coldly. Olivia's cheeks felt cold because of the breeze. She didn't want to stay in a room that was specially built for Marina. She'd rather stay outside in the cold. After a shower, Marina headed downstairs with a robe and shower cap. There was a scrape on her neck. The manicurist she hired arrived at that time. She rested on the white leather couch. Marina enjoyed her pedicure, relishing in the top-notch service. Olivia returned to the living room. Marina, who resented her to the bone, wasn't as arrogant as before. Marina wore an icy expression. I can give you Fordham residence, but I have 2 conditions too. Quote. Olivia frowned. You want a negotiation. Earning a living is tough. I think it's reasonable for me to have 2 conditions from you when I'm offering a $5 million worth house. Fire away, Olivia prompted impatiently. First, leave Aldenvine. Second, disfigure yourself. Olivia questioned back. Are you out of your mind? Do you know what you're talking about? Marina tossed a fruit knife onto the carpet casually. I want you to stay away from Ethan. Once you ruin your face, you won't pose a threat to me. You have something on me, but I have your father's weakness. Do you want to expose his deeds to the public? Olivia's face slightly changed, giving Marina a sense of triumph. Marina continued, we're no less different from each other. None of us are innocent with clean hands. Olivia Fordham, I want you to ruin your face and leave Aldenvine in exchange for the house. Other than for Fordham residence, Olivia was here for something else. She wanted to confirm if Marina was the mastermind. Having tested her a few times, she could tell that Marina was not the mastermind. Marina was unaware of her terminal illness, so she need not waste her time on these matters. But who else could it be if it wasn't Marina? While Olivia was absorbed in her contemplation, Marina motioned at the maid next to her. A maid with a built stature kicked Olivia by the calf from behind, causing her to get on her knees. The maid unsheathed a knife. Here, Miss Fordham. Olivia stared at the knife, which reflected her frowning face. Marina Carleton, I haven't agreed to it yet. The maid did not care. He wore a contorted smile. Miss Fordham, this is your only option. Don't worry, Miss Carleton will hand over the Fordham residence to you after you ruin your face. Olivia attempted to free herself, but the maid was too strong. Miss Fordham, since you can't bring yourself to do it, allow me to have the honor to help you. The maid then flung the knife toward her face. Chapter 102. A loud crying echoed against the wall. Connor was standing by the staircase, wailing. Surprised, the maid stopped her movement. Although Marina wasn't close with Connor, as his mother, she didn't wish for her kid to witness the cruel scene. She instructed, what are you doing? Make sure the kid doesn't see this. The flustered maids rushed toward Connor. Marina was irritated by the sudden crying, too. She urged, what are you standing there for? Do it. The maid said aloud from upstairs, Master Connor must be having an allergy reaction. There are a lot of rashes on his body and face. Call the doctor over. Marina was very impatient. Instead of dealing with Connor, she was anxious to settle the score with Olivia because it was her rare chance to do so. Olivia looked at Marina in disbelief. He's your son. He's so little, and he's crying. You should at least hug him and comfort him. Marina sneered. If you make it quick, I can do that right away. He's crying so helplessly upstairs. He's not my child, but why does it wrench my heart to see him crying? Olivia wondered. Her instinct was urging her to throw the knife away and hug Connor. At this moment, Connor suddenly mustered the strength to break free from the maid's grasp. "Master Connor!" the maid shrieked as he rolled down the stairs. Thanks to her speed, Olivia was fast enough to catch him in her arms. Rashes crawled all over his tear-stricken face. "Mama, Mama!" Connor snuggled into her embrace. The wholesome scene infuriated Marina so much. "Olivia Fordham, stop dragging the time. If you can't do it, I can help you." She gestured at the maids to approach Olivia. One of them wanted to take Connor away from Olivia, while the other was planning to hurt her. Marina didn't budge from the couch amidst the mess simply because her pedicure wasn't done yet. Today, Olivia finally realized that not everyone deserved to be a mother. She was taken aback by how Marina wasn't bothered to comfort Connor in this kind of situation. To Marina, the pedicure and Olivia's disfigurement were more important than her kid. Olivia grew pity toward Connor, finally understanding why he was very attached to her whenever they met. Right now, he was hugging her so tightly, showing no hints of letting her go. She didn't have a reason to let him go either. Amid the fight, Olivia accidentally rolled down the stairs with Connor in her arms. The child, whom she failed to protect in the sea, fleeted across her mind. She hugged Connor tightly to take all of the pain and danger upon herself. Until they rolled over the final fleet of stairs, her first reaction was to smile at the surprised boy. "Don't be scared, I'm here." Connor stared at her in a daze. The shock was too much for him to handle that he forgot to cry. Marina didn't rush over to check on him. Instead, she said, "Ruin her face right now." The two maids came up to Olivia with a knife. "We're sorry, Miss Fordham." No one in the house had the nerves to go against the future Mrs. Miller. Her words were their orders to take. The pain sapped Olivia of her energy. Grogginess and exhaustion got the best of her. All she could do was watch the sharp knife drawing closer to her. The moment the maid raised the knife, she heard a roar. Chapter 103. It was as though the king of the beast let out a furious rom, deafening enough to shake the wind's forest. Ethan ran over at full pelt. A frantic Marina noticed him and sprang from her seat, putting the pedicure at the back of her mind. The nail polish splashed onto the floor because of his abrupt action. The striking red adored the white carpet. "Ethan, I can explain," she said anxiously. He ignored her and bypassed her swiftly. However, the maid with the tall stature didn't stop her even after noticing his arrival. Marina brought that maid along to the country back then. Her name was Sana Ashbluff. She had been working for Marina before the latter's mother passed away. Not only did she know martial arts, she was 5'7" and weighed 160 pounds. Thus, she appeared built among average women. Sana clearly heard Ethan, but she was aware that Olivia was the thorn in Marina's flesh. She needed to remove the thorn for Marina. That was why she didn't stop even after hearing Ethan's voice. Just one cut was enough. That one cut would be able to ruin Olivia's beautiful face. And she would never be able to restore her beauty again. It was the same for Olivia and Ethan's relationship. Once there was a flaw, it would be impossible to return to how it was before. No man would like a woman with a scarred face. As time passed, Ethan would definitely fall for Marina. Thus, Sana tried to hurt Olivia. A gunshot was fired out of the blue. The maids screamed in fear and dispersed. The bullet hit the knife off Sarah's hand. Brent hurriedly approached her and forced her to kneel by kicking her calf. He then cuffed her hands behind her. "Don't move." The bullet had scraped her arm. If the gunshot was fired to the side a little, she could have been disabled. The gunshot had stunned her into silence. She didn't dare to move a muscle. By then, Ethan had helped Olivia up. He asked, "Are you all right?" Her body felt sore, and her scraped forehead was bleeding. There weren't any serious injuries, but she wasn't worried about herself. "Check on him. He's having an allergic reaction." Her anxious expression was a complete contrast to Marina's. The first thing Marina did after coming up to Ethan was to shift the blame instead of hugging Connor. "It's her." She pushed Connor off the stairs. "My poor boy. He almost died from the fall. She's such a cruel woman." In the past, Ethan wouldn't expose her true colors even after seeing through her. But today was an exception. Infuriated, he grabbed her by the collar. "I'm not blind, Marina Carlton." Her face fell as she racked her brain to come up with an excuse. Olivia didn't want to waste her time on Marina. Ignoring her bleeding wound, Olivia quickly lay Connor on the couch. She instructed, "Bring me a napkin and cold water. We have to elevate the reaction through cold compression right now. Mr. Ingram, buy him some medicine." "Sure, Miss Fordham." Brent released Sana and left the house with hasty steps. Meanwhile, Marina was still trying to find fault with Olivia. "Ethan, did you hear that? Look how despicable she is. It's cold, yet she's going to give Connor a cold compression. He's in a serious condition right now. Is she trying to make him catch a cold?" Olivia couldn't put up with her antics anymore. "Shut up. Are you really his biological mother?" Chapter 104. Marina found Olivia's question hilarious. "If I'm not his mother, who else is?" "You. If you are his mother, you shouldn't be this cold-blooded. He's having an allergic reaction and has fallen from the stairs. The first thing you did isn't protect him and comfort him, but to attack me. Do you even call yourself a mother?" Marina said, "Now that Ethan's here, don't assume that you'll be able to restore his feelings for you by defaming me. Ethan was there when I gave birth to Connor. He knows very well that I am Connor's mother." Olivia couldn't care less to continue the boring topic with her. The incident proved that some people were unsuitable to be a mother because of their inherent character. Connor's nanny rushed over with a basin of water. Olivia took his top off to place the napkin on him. But something was weird. Kids usually cried or threw a tantrum when they suffered from itchy rashes. Yet, Connor was all quiet. His eyes were fixated on her as he grasped the hem of her clothes tightly, wanting her to stay. It was as though he wasn't afraid as long as she stayed by his side. "Hold it right there. What are you doing to my son?" Marina was obviously against the cold compression. Olivia shot her a cold look. "It will contract the veins and stave the itchiness off. He's not feeling well right now. It takes a single scratch for the rashes to spread. The worst case scenario is that it might cause a fever." Marina wanted to say something, but Ethan stopped her sternly. "Shut up." Throughout the 2 years, it was the first time Olivia witnessed him treating Marina that way. Marina clearly felt wronged about it. Soon, she began causing trouble. She said, "I have always been extra careful when it comes to Connor's diet. Why is he suddenly having an allergic reaction? What did he eat?" A maid answered, "Master Connor ate half a slice of honey cake. Miss Fordham baked it." Marina glared at Olivia. "Olivia Fordham, how dare you feed him a honey cake? You knew that he's allergic to it." "He's allergic to honey." Olivia was surprised to find a similarity between herself and Connor. "Stop playing dumb. You came here for Fordham residence and offered a honey cake in order to please me. I didn't drive you away because I treated you as a guest. And yet, you have an ulterior motive. Just come at me if you how could you harm a mere kid? It's not only that. Ethan, look at my neck. She was trying to kill me." Marina knew that Connor was Ethan's priority. Anyone that hurt Connor would be in big trouble. She thought that as long as she could shift the blame to Olivia, he would let the incident slide. Olivia finally realized that Marina was setting her up all along. That was why Marina requested a honey cake. Olivia figured that Marina wouldn't have kept her promise even if Olivia had disfigured her face and left the city. A calculating woman who used her son to her advantage would never keep her promise. As an afterthought, Olivia's heart ached for Connor. Judging from Marina's attitude, she was clearly not a mother material. Ethan didn't take Marina's side like he always did. He scolded sternly, "Shut up. You keep finding fault in others ever since I came. Do you even care about Connor? I can't help but wonder how you have been fulfilling your duties as a mother." His gaze swept across her outfit. Her half-polished toenails disgusted him. "Ethan, get out, I don't want to see you right now." Forget about keeping her pride. Refraining from strangling her to death at this moment was his best concession. Chapter 105. Ethan attempted to keep his emotions under control. He was afraid that he might break Marina's neck if she was around here. If he had arrived 1 second late, Olivia would have been hurt. He was able to tolerate Marina's jealousy in the past. He took it as a trivial matter, but he didn't expect things to escalate this far. Ethan looked at the wound above Olivia's eyebrow. Disinfect your wound. Leave Connor to Mina. Mina Whitman was Connor's nanny. Olivia finally heaved a sigh of relief after Connor's rash was under control. She left the rest to Mina. Mama, Mama, Connor called her upon noticing that she was leaving. He became anxious, no longer the quiet boy he was a second ago. It pained her to see him crying, so she returned to him to give him a hug. Only then did he nestle quietly in her arms. Ethan took the cotton bud to disinfect her wound. Olivia instinctively dodged him, but he insisted. Don't move. Everyone in the house worked for Marina, making him the only person she could trust. So, she did as he said. He knew that she didn't like pain, so he made sure his touches were light enough. She endured the pain without grunting. Obviously, Ethan was the reason that Olivia grew from her frailty. It was a result of his cold treatment and hurtful words. She lost her smiles and never complained, not even grunting when it hurt. He looked at her hair, which was covered in egg stains. Anger rushed through his veins, reaching every part of his body. He lost control of his strength at the brief distraction, and the cotton bud prodded her wound. She hissed in pain. Does it hurt a lot? He quickly checked on her. He held her chin and cooed, I'll be lighter. His tone made the air feel slightly weird. She shifted her gaze away from him. It doesn't. He disinfected her wound and plastered a pink band-aid on it. He thought that women liked it when things were cute, so he had cute band-aids. It was his habit. Olivia said aloofly, thanks. She drew farther from him. It's getting late. Eve is waiting for me to return home for dinner. I'll leave Connor to you. Goodbye. I'll ask Kelvin to send you home. Okay, thanks. Olivia handed over Connor to Ethan. But Connor's eyes became teary almost instantly. I want Mama. I want Mama. Be a good boy. I will visit you some other day. She caressed his head gently. He sobbed, not wanting her to leave. Ethan pulled Connor over. A glare from Ethan was enough to make Connor behave. I expect nothing less from a father and a son. How great would it be if Connor was my son? The thought flashed across her mind. Deeming it scary, she shook her head to shake the idea off her mind. About today, I will make sure justice is served, Ethan said. Treat Connor better. With that, she left the place. She stared at the vast sea, thinking, if my child is still with me, I will make sure to treat him well, not use him to win a man's heart. The thought of her child, who didn't have the chance yet to see the world, pained her. She barely took a few steps when she fainted in front of Kelvin. Mrs. Miller. Chapter 106. Kelvin quickly held on to Olivia, supporting her. She managed to fight the drowsiness away. Mrs. Miller, are you all right? I'll take you to the hospital. She shook her head. I'm fine. I'm low on sugar. That's it. She was aware that her body had reached its limit after she fought with Marina and saved Connor. Kelvin observed her, anxious. But why do I feel that you're getting weaker? I'm really fine. Please take me home. After she left, Brent returned to the manor with medicines. The cold compression and the medicines managed to mitigate Connor's allergic reaction before it became worse. Ethan patiently checked on Connor. Obviously, Olivia had protected him well. That was why he was unscathed. It had been a rough day for Connor. Exhausted, he eventually fell asleep in Ethan's arms while clutching his shirt. He entrusted Connor to Mina. Marina approached Ethan with a vulnerable expression. Ethan, you have to believe me. Olivia came to retrieve the Fordham residence. She made a honey cake to please me. But she became vulgar with her words after I refused to give her the residence. She even threatened me with a knife. The maids protected me by snatching the knife from her. Then, she held Connor hostage. Fortunately, you came back in time. Otherwise, it would have been a tragedy. Her story was full of loopholes. Ethan didn't want to and couldn't care less about this pointless subject. He cut to the chase. I want the Fordham residence. Marina was shell-shocked. Without the Fordham residence in her hands, she didn't have a trump card to oppress Olivia. Thus, she would never hand over the residence to anyone else. She walked up to him. Ethan, you gotta believe me. Olivia seriously has a knack for acting. He shoved her away. I know her better than you. And I know you all too well. I did not intervene in your matters, but that doesn't mean I'm blind. Marina Carlton, I've granted all of your wishes, so do not cross the line. Don't let Jethro's sacrifice be in vain. This is the last time. He stood up. She pleaded, but I've asked someone to proceed with the... Ethan's icy gaze landed on her, exuding a murderous intent. This is not a negotiation. I'm informing you. Take good care of Connor, and stop wasting your time on useless matters. If you keep testing my patience, I can't guarantee you that I will show up at the engagement party. He then left. Despite his calm tone, it was a wake-up call for Marina because he had never spoken to her in that way for the past 2 years. Bitch. Olivia Fordham. That bitch. She shoved everything from the table to the floor before going upstairs with a grim expression. Everyone in her sight was an eyesore to her. Even her cat was kicked for simply passing by. Marina's anger reached the roof when she saw Mina. She slapped Mina in the face. Useless trash. You had one job, and you can't even look after a kid. Mina pursed her lips. Ethan had personally assigned her to look after Connor. Thus, it was natural for Marina to vent her anger on Mina first. In fact, it was another maid who fed Connor the cake while Mina had a restroom break. But the truth didn't matter to Marina. Mina was used to Marina's true character and didn't dare to confront Marina. The only thing she could do was to hang her head low and become the punching bag. The sheer sight of you hurts my eyes. Scram. Get out of my sight. Marina ordered. Yes. Marina watched Connor, who was asleep. He resembled Ethan so much. They resembled each other because Connor's father was Ethan's younger cousin. However, it pained her to hear Connor hugging Olivia while calling, Mama. Marina woke Connor up. He was still sleepy when he murmured, Mama. Connor, could you say that again? She was slightly excited. It was the first time he addressed her that way. He surpassed Irina in terms of intelligence and other aspects. If Irina could call her that, there was no way Connor couldn't do the same. It was because he didn't want to. Connor noticed that Olivia wasn't around as soon as he woke up. Now that the person before him was Marina, his drowsy eyes regained their calmness. He pursed his lips, not wanting to say a word. Marina became anxious. Connor, repeat it. He didn't utter a word, let alone call her mother. His deadpan face was the same as Ethan's. Chapter 107. Marina waited for a while to no avail. She vented her anger on Connor. You brat. I gave birth to you and raised you. And you can't even call me your mother. You're so happy whenever you call that bitch your mother, huh? Why did I give birth to an idiot? Other than your face, you're useless. She turned him over to spank him. He cried as he didn't know what he did wrong. Mina hurried over to the scene, and Marina stopped. Marina threw Connor at her, threatening, you have quite the temper. But I'm warning you, if you let anyone know about this, you ought to leave this house tomorrow. Connor wasn't Ethan's biological son. Yet he resembled Ethan so much. Besides, Ethan gave him paternal love in order to placate the guilt of losing a child. Thus, Marina needed Connor so she could become Mrs. Miller. She didn't want to infuriate Ethan with such a matter. Marina left. Mina's eyes reddened when she saw Connor's swollen butt. She had been babysitting him for a year, and she had grown attached to him. She thought, how could she do this to a little kid? As a mother, she's nowhere as good as Olivia. Mina initially thought of reporting it to Ethan, but she deemed it as a lecture from mother to son. Marina didn't really hurt Connor. If Ethan found out about it, that would reveal her disloyalty toward Marina. Judging from Marina's character, she wouldn't allow Mina to take care of Connor if she knew. She suppressed the grievance and comforted Connor. At the roadside of Seacrestport, Brent was checking the surveillance footage of Collington Cove. There were a few hidden surveillance cameras within the house. When Ethan saw Marina pouring eggs over Olivia, he clenched his fists. The crease between his eyebrows smoothened a little when Olivia fought back. However, that was only the beginning. Marina's following actions made their skins crawl. Connor cried and fell off the stairs. Yet, the first thing she did wasn't protect him but ruin Olivia's face. Had Olivia not protected him by risking her life, he wouldn't have been able to stay uninjured from falling down the stairs. Brent was surprised by the event. If anyone sees this, one might mistake Miss Fordham as Master Connor's mother. Miss Carlton didn't care about her son. She's so cruel, Mr. Miller. Are you going to take this kind of woman as your wife? There were no surveillance cameras in the bedrooms. Based on the surveillance footage of other areas, Marina was not affectionate to Connor and acted indifferent. On top of that, today's incident had hardened Ethan's understanding of her selfish character. He reclined in his chair, sighing. I owe her. I don't have other options. Brent wasn't aware of their past. So he was curious as to what made Ethan end up like this. Hand over the Fordham residence to Olivia. You take on the procedures, Ethan instructed. Got it. Ethan shut his eyes, replaying the scenes in his head again and again. The scenes of how Olivia was drenched in egg stains and how she hugged Connor and rolled over the stairs. Brent reminded him, Miss Fordham almost fainted when she left the house. Mr. Miller, you keep saying that she's ill. I think she really is. It pained Ethan to know that. He opened his eyes and coldly said, Tell the Carltons that the engagement party is postponed. Chapter 108. Brent was quick in handling matters. He managed to receive a notarial certificate on the same day. Olivia was aware of how she was able to retrieve the house. It was thanks to the fact that she was willing to risk her safety to protect Connor. She did it out of reflex at that moment. Even if Connor was Marina's son, he was an innocent child. She smiled self-mockingly. There was a cut on her eyebrow, and she received the Fordham residence in exchange. The moment she shut her eyes, she always recalled how Marina forced her to get on her knees. She couldn't help but clench her fists. Olivia spent the following 2 days peacefully. Not only did she retrieve the Fordham residence, but Ethan also didn't show up in front of her. Cooper found new findings regarding Jeff as he sent a few pictures to her. At that moment, she was eating the cherries Everly prepared. When she saw the pictures, the cherry in her hand fell onto the floor before it reached her mouth. Her phone fell onto the floor, too. Everly's lips were rosy because of the fruits. She looked back at Olivia's pale face. What's wrong? The share price plummeted, or a celebrity caught in a scandal? Olivia didn't answer Everly as she broke into a cold sweat. What's the matter? You look like you're possessed. Don't scare me. I'm a coward, Everly muttered while picking the phone. The phone screen was still unlocked, so she saw the pictures. It was a car accident. A truck bulldozed across the greenbelt before crashing into a black car, crushing it flat. Isn't this your father's car? Are you all right? Why are you looking at these? Olivia finally found her voice, but her voice was trembling. Look at the other pictures. Everly sensed something was off. Her expression turned solemn. Isn't this Ethan? One of the pictures showed Ethan standing under a nearby tree. He stood there quietly. The sunlight danced through the leaves, casting an eerie pattern over his face. His face seemed colder than usual because of it. Wearing the haughty expression he always wore, he witnessed the whole accident. Olivia held Everly's hand. Everly realized that Olivia's hands were clammy with sweat. Everly comforted her. Liv, calm down. Call Ethan and ask him. Eve, do you think that it is a coincidence? Olivia's voice was quivering. My father's car crash wasn't an accident. He planned everything. She could barely tell the cruel truth. Perhaps, he just happened to stand right there. Olivia grabbed Everly's arm tightly. On the same day, a few car crashes happened at the same time. The roads were blocked, so the ambulance couldn't arrive in time. If Dad had received an emergency treatment, he wouldn't have suffered a side effect. He's been hospitalized for 2 years. Eve, it is Ethan. He planned everything. He planned the car crashes to stall time. He wanted my father to die at the scene. That is a living person. Even if Ethan is a scumbag, that is his father-in-law. He wouldn't do such a thing. Everly didn't know what else to say. Olivia was crying and smiling at the same time. The smile was awful. You don't know him. He's capable of doing anything. He had fertilized flowers with someone else's ashes before. As long as he wanted to achieve something, there was nothing he wouldn't do. I thought he took revenge on Dad to make us go bankrupt. I didn't relate him to the car crash at all. He is a devil. He murdered my father. Liv, Everly was at her wit's end as she didn't know how to comfort Olivia. The picture proved that he was present during the car crash. It didn't indicate that he was the mastermind. Yet, Olivia was certain that he was the culprit. Chapter 109. Olivia was utterly disappointed. She knew that he wasn't a kind person, but she had never expected this kind of cruelty from him. Now, she realized that she didn't know much about him. Eve, you know what? On the day of the car crash, I was making a meal at home because it was Ethan's birthday, she recounted. Everly drew a few tissues for Olivia to wipe her tears off. The tissues were soon dampened because Olivia couldn't stop crying. Olivia continued, Ethan never celebrated his birthday because he shared the same birthdate as his sister. He's always in low spirits on his birthday. I racked my brain to come up with an idea to make him feel better. I remember I spent a lot of time decorating the place. Yet, before he came home, all I received was news of my father in dire condition after a car crash. She placed her hand on her chest, trying to catch her breath. I once thought of ending the bad blood between us with my death. Now, I regret it. Why does the person have to be me and not him? Why do I have cancer? Why is God so unfair? Everly said, calm down, Liv. He was at the scene, but that doesn't mean that he was the mastermind. Who gave you the pictures? What if it's a scam? Olivia said, I hired a detective to look into the car crash. There are no grudges between the detective and me. Why would he set me up? That day was Leia's birthday, so he's trying to make it my father's death anniversary. I bet he didn't expect my father to survive that. His plan was delayed. Olivia smiled bitterly. I was grateful to Ethan for not putting an end to my family. Now that I think about it, perhaps he wanted me dead. And my child, I guess he didn't save me on purpose. Dad survived, so Ethan wanted me and my child to make up for Leia's death. Everly hugged her. Liv, don't let your imaginations run wild. You're giving me chills. Ethan loved you. He would never do anything to hurt you, no matter what. However, Olivia was on the verge of losing herself. Ethan felt like a stranger to her. Eve, you were right. Did I owe him anything? Why do I have to end up like this just because I pity him for losing a sister? I'm the most pathetic person here. I lost my father, my child, and a home to depend on. I've been putting up with Marina's antics. She poured eggs over me, demanding me to kneel before her. What am I doing these for? Does Ethan think that because everyone's beneath his station, he can play God? Let's see if he can control my life. Olivia's distorted expression scared Everly as the latter said, Liv, calm down. You're scaring me. Eve, I will take revenge. I will take everything that Marina and Ethan owe me from them. I will make them pay the price. My poor child, you must be in heaven looking over me. That's why you unveil the truth to me, right? Olivia walled to the bathroom like a lifeless doll, muttering, once I get our revenge, I'll come to you. Wait for me, I'll come to you soon. Chapter 110. To Everly, Olivia was a bright person who grew up with a good upbringing. She was a proper person who upheld the right values. She never used underhanded schemes. Even if she was born into a rich family, she didn't look down upon ordinary people. It was normal for Ethan to fall for a confident and sophisticated person like Olivia. As a woman herself, Everly liked Olivia, too. There were a lot of times when Everly was embarrassed of herself when she compared herself with the upright Olivia. However, the woman standing before Everly didn't feel like the Olivia she knew at all. Now, she was like a doll in a breakdown. Her beautiful eyes were devoid of emotions, sending chills down Everly's spine. Everly said, Liv, what are you talking about? Similar to a madwoman, Olivia cried and smiled at the same time. Her perspective shifted completely because of the pictures. Now, she finally understood why kindness was the opening for others to bully her. She wept. He won't help me to look for Leo. He simply needed a reason to bully me. Yet, I'm still wishing for my father to regain his consciousness like a fool. Liv, Everly called. Olivia went berserk. I'm a dog to him. He gives me some toys when he's happy, and I have to be grateful to him. I have to be careful around him because I'm afraid of offending him. I reckon he sees me as a clown. I'm hurting, but I have to please him. Yet, he takes the liberty to rub salt on my wound. Liv, calm down, Everly attempted to comfort her. Olivia responded, calm down. Eve, how am I supposed to calm down? They're the cause of my misfortune. Why do I have to die and not them? Chill shrouded Everly. Liv, do not think of anything silly. Yes, Marina is a total bitch, but her child is innocent. Do not think of hurting him. Olivia's mother passed away when she was young, so Jeff was the only person she could depend on. Family mattered the most to her. When she got pregnant, her child was her world. She thought everything that happened to Jeff and her baby was accidental. Thus, she didn't blame Ethan. But everything was different now. It was not an accident but an attempted homicide. The other party had harmed her precious family, so she would never let this slide easily. Everly persuaded Olivia patiently in order to prevent a tragedy from happening. Olivia smiled at her. Eve, what are you thinking? Why would I hurt a child? That's a relief. Olivia looked out of the window. It was a sunny day. The snow pile on the branches melted under the sun before dripping onto the roof. The droplets gathered and formed a puddle, much like her resentment that slowly grew. She muttered, I'm curious if Ethan was sad when my baby was gone. He didn't even see my baby. If Connor was that dying baby back then, would Ethan be upset? Even just a little. Everly felt a cold sheen behind her back when she heard that. She hurriedly grabbed Olivia's hands. Liv, oh Liv, please do not have that kind of thought. I was wrong to mention the story of revenge and rebirth. Those are just fictional stories. They don't apply to us. Ethan is a bastard, and Marina is a bitch. But Connor is innocent. You had a child yourself too.